All right. Good afternoon, fellow traders, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric. I'm going to be your presenter and your co-host along with TradeThirsty this afternoon. So thank you so much for joining us. First things first, I want to do some quick housekeeping. I have everyone placed on the, I guess it would be the listen only mode because I realize there's a lot of background noises in everyone's homes. However, I do want your feedback throughout the webinar. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. So everyone just take a moment, get familiar with the GoToWebinar platform, and in the control panel, there's going to be, depending on the version that you're using, there's going to be a question mark somewhere in there or a little icon so that you can communicate with me. Let's take a moment just to make sure that everyone knows where it is, and just give me a quick shout out, say hello, maybe let me know what part of the world or what part of the country you're from. Hey, George, thank you for joining us. Thank you very much. Glad to have you here. Okay, a lot of them coming in now. Hold on just one second, guys. My chat is a little slow and then it floods. Okay, hi from Singapore. Wow, long way away. Mike from Washington State, Atlanta. Thank you very much. Wow, California. Okay, Hawaii, Boston. Excellent, excellent. Any more internationals out there? OTR driver currently in Milwaukee. Well, hopefully the weather's treating you good out there, Dan. Good, and thank you for what you're doing out there, keeping the supply chains moving. I think I speak for everyone when I say we really, really appreciate that. Dan from Switzerland. Wow, okay, long way away. All right, good. So everyone should know where your chat boxes are. The room is still filling up right as we speak. So I'm gonna give us just another moment just to make sure that everyone can get in, do a quick hello. I've got Dolia coming in from Brazil as well as Alaska. I'm not sure how that happened in two places at once, but that's interesting. Okay, good. So let me go ahead and get us shoved off or pushed off in the right direction, if you will, guys. So first things first, and I think this is really, really important. Look at your screen for a minute. I'm going to just go out there and tell you right now that trading is not easy. Regardless of what you've heard, it actually involves a high degree of risk. And here's the reality. I mean, if you're not careful, you can lose some or even all of your money. So be careful out there. And because of these facts, never trade with money that you cannot afford to lose. I'm going to say that again. If you can't afford to lose it, don't trade with it. Always use good equity management to protect yourself. That is critical. And during this webinar, I'm going to be showing you what some of our customers have said, but I want you to understand that these are their experiences and they may be atypical. I mean, your results could be very different. Some of you could actually do better. Some of you could do worse. And the reality is, some of you, if you're not careful, you could lose everything. So please, please, if you don't know what you're doing, go out and hire a licensed professional, because this is not the time to gamble with your financial future. Before the question even comes in, I haven't had it yet, but yes, this is a live event. Right before I jumped into my office, I was noticing that CNBC had the market down about pretty close to 600 points, and we were hitting session lows. So yes, this is happening in real time, guys. Okay, so here's my promise to you. During this session, I'm going to show you how you can apply the power of artificial intelligence into your everyday trading. And it's going to surprise some of you, but it's actually the same artificial intelligence that we use in our everyday lives. And I know some of you are hearing that term, and maybe you're thinking of things like the Terminator or Skynet. And I get it, but I'm going to address that because I've also learned that we're only afraid of things in life that we don't really understand. So by the time we're done here today, I'm going to give you the knowledge that you need, as well as a way to apply the knowledge to actually improve your results. And since I'm on the topic of knowledge, I want to clarify something just real quick. How many, and this is a rhetorical question, but how many of you have heard the phrase that knowledge is power? Yeah, so everyone's heard that, right? Well, that statement's not entirely correct, and here's why. I mean, you can learn all types of things in life, you really can, but if you don't actually go out and use the information and actually apply it, then what good is it? So I'm going to make a correction there and get everyone thinking in the right direction. The correct phrase should be applied knowledge is power. Now, once we're done, go out and apply what it is you're about to learn here today. You'll be a better trader for it. When I was growing up, my dad actually gave me some great advice on how to be successful. And he said, Eric, listen, you need to learn how to be a doer and an action taker. And he said, always go out and just do what other people either aren't willing to do or they're not able to do themselves. So that's what I did. And I've got to tell you, I've been greatly rewarded in all aspects of my life for following his advice. So with that being said, my advice to you is be a doer. Go out and apply what I'm going to share with you. So let me give you just a real brief introduction into who I am, my background. Like many of you, I've got a pretty extensive corporate background, but my path was very different than a lot. And the reason I say that is I actually went down the finance path as a professional trader. I worked my way up to the position of Senior Vice President of Investments with a very prestigious Wall Street firm. They actually hold the second oldest seat on the New York Stock Exchange. And if you're wondering, the name of the firm is Janney Montgomery Scott. They've been around since, I want to say 1832. So imagine for a moment the amount of trading knowledge and resources that I was able to learn from by being in a firm that had that type of longevity. So I guess to say that I learned a thing or two about trading, that'd be a gross understatement. But I'm not sharing this with you to brag or pump myself up. I'm actually sharing it because some of the things that I actually learned have completely changed the way I view the financial markets. And I'm going to share that with you during our time here. So I'm at the point now in my life where I'm approaching the beautiful age of 50. There's a photo of me right there. You can see me. So I've since retired from that fast-paced life, and I've slowed my life down quite a bit so that I can actually enjoy time with my family as well as the fruits of my labor. I mean, what good is money if you're not actually using it to better your life? And I've got to tell you, what I'm doing today is so much more fulfilling because I actually get to teach people like you how to benefit and be successful in the markets the way I've been able to. So I do live seminars, workshops all across the United States, and now I'm on this webinar sharing this information with you. And it's nice because I know for a fact that I'm actually making an impact in other people's lives. And what I mean by impact is really teaching him how to be financially independent. And let me just real quick, I think this is important. Let me give you my definition of what I think financial independence is. Financial independence is just being able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it, and really just kind of live life on your own terms and not really have to worry about anything. I mean, that's just the reality. And maybe if the only thing you walk away with today is some information on how you could make another, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 a month, I mean, that puts you on your way to being financially independent. And that's what this is really about. So one thing that you need to understand about me is I do tend to talk quick. In fact, as we progress on, I'll start speaking faster. And the reason for that is I drink a lot of coffee on a daily basis. I'm on, usually I drink 4 or 5 cups. I think I've already had 3 cups now, right now, and it's only, 12:07. So I just want you to understand that I'm not into hype at all. But if I get a little fired up, guys, it's the caffeine. So I promise you, if I need to slow down in certain areas, I will. Okay, very, very important. Okay, so first things first, when I do these live events, the first thing everyone always wants to know when I'm face to face with them is they pull me aside. They're really polite about it, but they whisper to me and they go, "Hey, Eric, does this really work as well as it appears to?" Folks, my answer is always the same. Yes, of course it does. But you don't have to take my word for it. I actually want to give you an idea of what other people just like you that are using the technology are saying about it. And by the way, folks, these are real customers. These are their experiences, their own words, and there are actually hundreds of them on our website at VantagePoint Software. Chuck writes in and says, VantagePoint has doubled my annual returns. Here's another one that says, I'm seeing my win percentage increase drastically. Thanks, VantagePoint. I like this one. This is actually from a college kid, believe it or not. TJ wrote in and said, I am consistently making between 14 to 17% a week. Now, I don't know what he's trading, guys, but it's got to be a leveraged market. What I will say is if he's consistently doing that and he can annualize that, think about how this is impacting his financial future. Those are impressive results. Scott writes in, he's an options trader. He says, I've had 2 options trades that yielded 1,400% on one, which I cashed out, and another that's over 500% gain that I still remain in. Pretty impressive. But the final one, and I like this one for a lot of different reasons, but Andrew writes in and says, I've made 115% my first 2 weeks using VantagePoint. I'm happy to add that the software has been simple for me and I love it. And I am certain I will be using this program for the rest of my life. Folks, those are powerful, powerful statements. One of the reasons they're giving these types of accolades is because not only does the software work, but it works really, really well. So let me switch gears for a moment. What if I told you that we actually have a software tool that could predict the price movement of a particular market or a particular security for that matter over the next 1 to 3 days? I mean, what could you actually do with information like that? And I'll take this a step further. What if I actually told you it was correct up to 87.4% of the time? That'd be pretty exciting, right? So listen, I want to get everyone else awake, or at least as amped up as I am right now, because the coffee's definitely going through my veins. If you want me to prove it to you, I need you to go to your chat box real quick. Just type in the word yes, or prove it, or whatever you want to say. I just want to get everyone engaged because I'm going to be asking some very important questions, and I want to make sure you guys know how to communicate with me. So go to your chat box and type in the word, or words, excuse me, prove it. So I'm ready here, guys. So if you actually want me to prove what the software can do, that's exactly where we're going. Okay, so they're starting to come in. Yes, PI. I love it. Prove it. Prove it. Someone screaming with all caps. Thank you. Thank you. Prove it. Boone. Thank you, Brad. All right, guys, I'll do that. So you're going to want to start paying very, very close attention to everything that we go over, because that is exactly what I'm here to do. And I'm going to show you how you can actually use the same type of technology. Okay, so first thing, were we able to predict the market's reversal? Okay, and this is a very, very important question. Well, yes, in fact, we were. Look at your screen right now. Stop what you're doing. Pay attention to the screen. If you look at the screen, you'll see that on 221, VantagePoint indicated the reversal in the Dow. I'm going to explain how as we go throughout this session, but understand that yes, we did see this coming, and had you been using the technology, you could have seen it as well. Very, very important. It's not just for protecting and preserving your capital, though. It's also for creating wealth, because the reality is, if you knew that a trend was about to take place ahead of time, 1 to 3 days in advance with up to 87% accuracy, I'm willing to bet you'd be able to make some money in a situation like that. Well, here's just one of, there are hundreds of examples I could go through, and we're actually going to go through some real life examples today, but here's one just on Tesla. 122% profit in just 2 trades. Think about that, guys. For those of you that are trading options, think about what you could do with information like that. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch gears for a moment. We're going to jump into the AI piece, but I want to introduce you to the intelligence behind the artificial intelligence, if you will. So first things first, look at the gentleman on the right-hand side. That is our founder. That is Louis Mendelson. He started our organization back in 1979. So we've got a 41-year track record. Louis actually is a fascinating person. He's a published author, but here's what you really need to know about him. He's the first person on the planet that made backtesting software, the stuff that we use today that we never think twice about. He's the first guy to ever create backtesting software and made it available to the general public. Now, folks, that was before computers were mainstream and in everybody's home. Think about that. While everyone else was just exploring this, Louis was actually writing code to use on a computer and this is back in the days when you still had to build them yourselves. So think about that. In fact, if you Google him, you can find old footage of him on CNBC on Tech Corner being interviewed by John Murphy. And John Murphy was asking him, how are you so successful as a trader? And he was quoted, and this is back in the early 90s, guys. Think about that for a second. He was quoted as saying, well, I'm using neural networks and machine learning. You guys may know it as artificial intelligence, but that's what I owe my success to. So what he did is he learned about AI when he was in school at Carnegie Mellon, and that is arguably the birthplace of artificial intelligence. Some of the brightest minds on the planet have gotten their education there. Lou did as well. That's where he learned about AI. And then he released VantagePoint to the general public back in 1991. So for any of you that think that we're brand new to the space, I can assure you, not only are we the originators, but we're the world leaders when it comes to financial forecasting and using AI. Now, you can tell by the photo he's getting a little older now, so he has since slowed down a little bit, and all I mean by slowed down is he still serves as our chief executive officer, but the day-to-day activities are now run by his oldest son, Lane Mendelson, and that's the gentleman on the left. Lane is the president of VantagePoint. He's also a financial analyst and AI expert, and we think of him as a second-generation phenom, and here's why I say this. Imagine if you took a guy like Steve Jobs before he passed away. What if he were able to take his oldest son and teach him every single thing he knew about design, about computing, about technology, innovation, and then groomed him over decades? And then when he finally thought that his oldest son was ready, what if he let him run the company? imagine how much more innovative Apple would be. And that's what we're really talking about here. That's what Mr. Mendelsohn has done for Lane. So I want you to understand who's behind the technology, but instead of me sharing this with you, let me show you some opinions that I think will not only carry a lot of weight, but maybe you've even heard these before. So I've got a thing that's gonna play. It's only about 60 seconds long. Let me go ahead and turn it on for you guys, and hopefully I've got my sound setting correct. There we go.
Lane Mendelsohn's company has developed a way to transform the lives of people.
Lane Mendelsohn, the president of VantagePoint Software.
Lane Mendelsohn.
Lane Mendelsohn.
Lane Mendelsohn, president of VantagePoint AI. Joining me in the studio today is Lane Mendelsohn, and with me today, Lane Mendelsohn, the president of VantagePoint AI.
Your artificial intelligence software was able to predict the January market drop.
Your company forecasted that the tech stocks erased all the gains for the year.
What's the criteria you use at VantagePoint when you look at a stock?
We're doing a very advanced form of pattern recognition using artificial intelligence.
My company's been involved with artificial intelligence for 30 years. This is the future.
You're talking about thousands and thousands of data points being analyzed every single day. A human could not do this. If you're not analyzing all of those other factors, you're not seeing the full picture. To really gain an edge in today's global markets, you have to have a global approach.
VantagePoint Software 的主席 Len， 那他和我们一起分享一下股票投资。
It's all about having the odds in your favor. Our focus is the technology. In the last 10 years, we've spent over $10 million in research and development, developing the technology. We actually have been forecasting the retail stocks to go up for about a week now. A couple of days ago, we said tech stocks were going to start to go up, and look what today happened. I mean, the Dow had a tremendous day today. Our philosophy is if we can't predict it with a very high degree of accuracy, why bother? There are so many other stocks that we can forecast with such a high degree of accuracy.
And one of the things that I like about you personally, Lane, is that you really are a family guy.
I think that it's most important that that you spend time with family, you teach values. My daughter knows all of our core values for our company, and the first one is integrity. We're going to continue to refine, develop, and make this product so that everybody in the world who wants to have financial freedom can easily benefit from it.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to show that to you. But I think it's kind of important, guys, because I want you to understand who's backing the technology, because this has been this family's mission in life to be able to bring something like this to you. And it's important that you know who actually is running the company, who's backing this, and also to understand what the rest of what the rest of the talking heads out there are actually saying. So let's switch gears, because we're gonna jump into this now pretty heavily. I'm going to start speeding everything up right now. If you're just joining the room, we are talking about using artificial intelligence in your everyday trading. I want to take a survey real quick, because this is going to be critically important, and I'd like everyone to participate, please. First things first, I need to kind of get a feel for the room here, because every room is different. On a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rate yourself, and understand that I'm the only person that can see it other than the moderators in the room. No one else in the audience is going to see your responses, but let's say 1 means you're brand new to trading and you don't really know anything. 5 means you're kind of middle of the road, and 10 means maybe you're making $500,000 a year. Where do you rate your trading experience or your trading knowledge right now? Let me get a feel for that, please. And I'd like everyone to participate, because it will change the way I interact with you based on your level of knowledge. So this is going to be critically important. I'll give you guys just a second to get those in. Okay, I'm getting a lot of 5s, 6, 7, 6, 7, intermediate 6, 5s, 8. Okay, thank you, Andy, for that. By the way, I won't mention anyone's name. I'm not going to mention anyone by their last name. I got a -2. Okay, Peter, I'm not going to call you out by your last name. That means you're hurting out there. Well, good. Then I'll make sure that we provide a lot of value for you here. That's going to be very, very important. Okay, my next question is, tell me what asset class you guys trade. You trading stocks, futures, forex, commodities, cryptocurrencies, ETFs, options? What do you trade? And by the way, everything that I just mentioned before you even ask, yes, we are able to forecast for it with a very high degree of accuracy. Okay, so they're coming in now. Futures, options, FX, let's see, stocks, futures, options, stocks, foreign exchange, options, futures. Okay, so kind of a mixed bag here. This is interesting. Normally I get a lot of just options traders, get a lot of futures traders in this group. Interesting. Okay. Most important question that I'm going to ask you. Well, one of the most important questions, because I want to make sure that I'm not wasting anyone's time. And we're going to jump into the AI, I promise, guys. Someone's already saying get to it. I will. But here's the question I have. If I could fix your biggest challenge as a trader, your number one problem that you think is really holding you back from being even more successful, or for someone that said -2, what do you think is preventing you from even being successful? If I could fix your biggest challenge, what would it be? I want to take some notes because throughout this demonstration, I'm going to show you exactly how VantagePoint can do just that. Trading psychology. Okay, I can't really help you with that one, Brad, but what I will say is I'm going to give you the ability to start trading with what you see based on what you're seeing rather than what you think and feel. Okay, so we're getting a lot of directions now. Selling points, timing on the entry and the exit, knowing when to exit, says Kenneth. Good. Holding positions too long. Okay, Alvin, so that's you're holding on too long. That's a late exit issue. Cutting losses, says Dan. So those are stop losses. Anyone having an issue finding opportunities out there to trade? Winning opportunities? Let me preface it with that. Okay, good, good. So I want to make sure we're on the same page. Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, Foon. So I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. So far, I haven't seen anything that we can't fix. That's the good news. So here's a question I have for you, and I want you to listen to what I'm about to ask, and then I want you to give me your honest response. How many of you would agree that we currently live in a globally interconnected economy and that the markets are influencing one another every single second of the day? If you believe that, tell me yes. And if you don't, tell me no too. I want your honest feedback. And if you're trading futures, what I'm saying is other futures markets are impacting you. So are the indices, so are the currencies. If you're trading stocks, everything is impacting a stock. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, now they're starting to roll in. There may be a little bit of a delay between the amount of time when your questions come in versus when I can see them. Because every time I'm asking a question, it takes like 10 seconds and then they all come in at once, but I'll do the best I can here. Okay, fantastic. So yes, we're all in agreement that everything is global and that they're all interconnected. And here's the reality. With information being shared at breakneck speeds, especially with 5G now, it's impossible to remain isolated. Now, why is that important? Well, if we all agree that the markets are global and interconnected and that everything's impacting one another, well, the question is, what are we doing about it, right? So let me give you an example of what I mean, because I'm about to introduce, and by the way, you're going to want to write this term down. We're going to talk about inter-market analysis, okay? Inter-market analysis. By the way, Dolia, I have your message. Thank you very much. So what intermarket analysis means, folks, is being able to study the relationships between connected markets to analyze how they're impacting one another. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and throw some charts up on the screen. You may want to write these down. I just put two charts up on the screen, AMD and the E-mini NASDAQ. And what you're seeing are two markets, two independent markets of one another that are clearly having an influence on one another. They're moving at the same time, trending in the same direction, and they're very linear. You can notice that they have a parallel relationship with one another. Now, why is this important? Well, if there's a clear influence on these markets, I would never trade AMD unless I first stopped to take a look at what the NASDAQ was doing. And vice versa. I wouldn't look at the NASDAQ unless I paid attention to what AMD was doing. Now, not all relationships are going to go straight up or straight down for that matter. Sometimes they're a little more volatile, right? We've all seen that. Let me give you a different example. Here's the financial sector ETF and Bank of America. Folks, if I remove the names, it'd be hard to tell which was which. The reality is the influence there is so incredibly strong, it's undeniable. When the financial sector ETF moves, it impacts Bank of America, and when Bank of America moves, it impacts the financial sector ETF. And yes, someone had just written in, it was Brad, we're talking about high correlation, yes, but also causality as well. And some of these relationships are going to be very different because you'll have linear relationships, you'll have non-linear relationships. Sometimes you're going to have inverse relationships. Let me give you an example of what I mean by an inverse relationship. Here's the S&P 500 and gold. Gold has always been considered a safe haven. So when the markets are struggling, people generally like to buy gold. But when the markets are doing incredibly well, gold suffers. Now, why is this important? Well, I want you to think about something. Which drives which? Because if you realize that when certain things happen and it can have an impact on something else, if we're trying to figure out where our markets are going, doesn't it make more sense to pay attention to what's driving them to begin with? And that's what this is really about, guys. And this is the foundation I'm trying to lay, is that what we're talking about here is advanced pattern recognition and understanding what is actually driving what it is we're trading. I'll give you an example. Let me give you one more slide, and then I want to jump into the software. On the screen, I have a picture of an iceberg up, and here's why. It doesn't matter what you're trading, but whatever it is that's influencing and driving it, I can assure you, you're only aware of the influences that are visible to the naked eye or that are logical to the human brain. So it doesn't matter what you're trading. If you're trading stocks, you're looking at things like maybe other stocks in the same sector, maybe that indice as a whole, and maybe earnings, product lineups. But the reality is you're only seeing 15%. You're only seeing the tip of the iceberg on what's truly driving that particular security. The reality is the reason it's moving up and down and moving all over the place is because there are influences at work that cannot be seen by the naked eye. They're not logical. You'd never think in a million years to look at them because they're hiding beneath the surface. And if you've ever had a stock that went against you out of nowhere, and you're surprised by it, even though there was no bad news, it's because what was truly driving it was what you weren't aware of. And the reality is you're never going to see that without using special equipment. I kind of liken this to the Titanic. What brought the Titanic down was not the iceberg that they saw. They steered away from that. But because of what was lurking beneath the surface, they couldn't see that. That's what carved a big gash in the hull and actually sank the ship. And the reality is they could never see that without using modern technology like sonar. And that's what we're talking about here, guys. We're talking about a tool that can actually do this advanced pattern recognition for us and then give us insight into what the target market is about to do based on the behavior. So let me go ahead and introduce you to VantagePoint. I've kept you waiting too long and I apologize. Let me go ahead and jump right into this. But I appreciate you letting me go through that because it's important that we lay a little bit of a foundation so that you can really appreciate what I'm about to share. Okay, so folks, look at your screen. This is VantagePoint. I want you to ignore the chart just for a moment because I need to explain what is happening beneath the surface here. So hold on one second. I'm going to pull up a stock. We're going to type in Southwest for a moment. I always like to use the same stock because it's just easy for people to get the topic that I'm talking about or the concept. So I'm going to put Southwest up in the center of the screen and let me grab my drawing tool. And first of all, let me explain what the software is doing. The software has just analyzed Southwest Airlines. And then what it has done is it has analyzed over 10,000 individual markets globally. And what it was looking for were patterns or relationships that exist between those markets and Southwest. I want you to think about this for a moment because this is so mind-blowing. Imagine looking at your stock that you want to trade and then going out and individually comparing that stock to over 10,000 other stocks or markets or indices. Well, first of all, you couldn't do it. It'd be humanly impossible. And even if you could, how do you figure out which of those markets are going to have the biggest impact, which are going to have the smallest impact? Because that's what the software is doing. What the software is doing is after it analyzes 10,000 different markets, it's able to produce the top 31 markets that it's able to mathematically and scientifically prove are having the biggest impact on Southwest. Think about that, guys. And you can see right here, look, I'll give you a visual. Southwest is right in the center of the universe. So let me show you what we do as normal traders. Well, as an intelligent trader, we go, hey, it might make sense for us to take a look at what the other airlines are doing. And you'll notice that Southwest is actually, or the software is doing that. It's looking at United. It's also looking at Spirit up here. It's looking at JetBlue. It's looking at, let's see, it's got Alaska right here. It's looking at Delta Airlines. I mean, obviously, those are going to have an impact on a company like Southwest. That's nothing super special, except the software also figures out how each one of these airlines directly impacts Southwest Airlines. But let's dive beneath the surface. Let's see what you can't see without modern technology. How many of you are actually able to say, okay, well, if after analyzing all of this, I think I need to also look at what the industrial spiders are doing, or maybe the S&P transportation spider, or even the Dow Jones transportation average to figure out to what extent these are impacting Southwest. And it's just common sense, guys. If you think about it, I mean, we know these ETFs are going to impact other airlines, which will have an impact on Southwest. But what about things as simple as the indices by themselves? Things like the Dow. You can see that right here. You know, not only the Dow, you also have the S&P or the NASDAQ. We know all of those indices are impacting our whatever it is we're trading on a daily basis, but it doesn't stop there. And I'm not going to go through the whole list, don't worry, but here's the reality. It's looking at things like the United States dollar. We know the dollar's impacting everything. It's looking at the yen. You can see that right there. It's also looking at the euro. It's even analyzing treasury notes to figure out how interest rates are playing in. Guys, are you seeing how extensive this is? But here's the kicker. As impressive as this is, I want to show you something that in a million years you would never see. It has to be hanging on at the bottom of the iceberg. And I'm going to put a question mark underneath of it. It's right here. The Children's Place. Folks, what in the world is the children's retail clothing store doing on a list of the top 31 markets that are having the biggest impact on Southwest? And I need you to understand something. This list isn't randomly selected. What the software is doing is after it analyzes the 10,000 markets, it mathematically stack ranks them to figure out which ones have the biggest impact and which ones have the smallest. The Children's Place made the list of the top 31 markets. Would you think to look at that? Because I wouldn't. Now, what it's doing with this information, guys, is it's analyzing each market and it's figuring out which of these issues will make Southwest go up in value, which ones will make it go down, and which ones may just pull it along sideways. But in addition to that, it's also applying a percentage weighting because some of these markets may have a very small degree of impact, whereas other ones may have a huge degree of impact. Yeah, so I'm getting some comments in actually on the comment box right now I wanted to share. How does the Children's Place impact and maybe Chubb for insurance, PVH, clothing, uniforms? Yeah, see, the reality is we could debate this all day long, guys, but the software, you know, it doesn't have an opinion. It's relying on advanced mathematics and patterns. It's recognizing this. And in a million years, we may not figure out how the Children's Place exactly, you know, falls into the fold here. But the software is doing this for us automatically. And then what it's doing is after it figures out the impact that all of these things will have, it puts them into our predictive technical indicators, which I'm going to cover in just a minute. But I just want to make sure that I'm doing a decent enough job explaining this. I mean, if you're impressed so far with what you see on this list, just type in the word yes into your chat box, because I'm pretty sure that this is the first time you've been exposed to this level of intermarket analysis. Because as you analyze this now, and understand, guys, I'm not showing you the weightings or the secret sauce, but you've got to be looking at this and then thinking about the tools that you're using going, wait a second, that's impressive. So I get a couple of them coming in, but if you can automatically look at this and realize that this is doing so much more than what you're currently trying to do, just give me a yes. That's all I'm asking for. Okay, I'm starting to see them come in. Keep them coming in, guys. I just want to make sure that that you guys are really understanding what's going on here. I got one no. Okay, that's amazing. William, well, thank you, and I appreciate that. If you're able to do what the artificial intelligence is capable of doing, then hats off to you, because I got to tell you, I could put a room full of the late, great Stephen Hawking's together. They couldn't do this type of analysis. But if you don't agree that markets drive other markets, then I can completely understand. So anyways, now that you know what the software is doing beneath the surface, let's go and find some stocks to analyze to see just how accurate it is. So folks, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a countdown in just a moment. I'm going to count to 3. And what I'm going to do is, I don't want the name of the company. I just want a ticker symbol, please. I'm going to ask you guys to provide me with some ticker symbols, and we're going to go analyze them to see just how accurate the intermarket analysis is with the artificial intelligence. So slow down for a second, guys. They're already coming in. Slow down. I got it, because the chat box is moving. I got to wait for it to stop, and then we can actually look at them. All right, guys, here's the countdown. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, let me let this calm down so I can scroll back up. Okay, hold on one second, guys. First one, SHOP, okay. Shopify, got it. Okay, next one, NVS. Okay, hold on one second, guys. NVS. Give me just a minute. Let me get these ticker symbols entered in. Yeah, I'll do the top 4. That's because I don't want to go over on time. So hold on one moment. Okay, it looks like I got an extra NVS that I didn't mean to put in there. Okay, what is that? CINF. Make sure, yeah, okay, CINF. Hold on. Cincinnati Financial. Okay. And then LMT. Okay, I actually know that one. That's Lockheed. LMT. LMT. Okay, so now that we've got some things to look at, which is all fine and dandy, that's great. Now here's the question, and here's the challenge that we have as traders. What should we be analyzing, right? Because I've just popped the hood to show you the intermarket analysis that the software is looking at, but you're not going to rely on that information to make your trading decisions because it doesn't give you any actionable information. But that's where the indicators come in, and that's where I want to talk about what you may be using right now. So let me see if this will resonate with you. How many of you are using some of these? I call these the usual suspects, and you can look at the list. You've got Fibonacci, support resistance, trend line breakouts, candlesticks. I mean, I could go on for an hour. And this is just a fraction of what's available out there. But how many of you are using some, if not all of these? And if you are, what are your favorites? Which ones do you guys really rely on? What's your go-to indicator, if you will? Moving averages, Bollinger Band. Someone said Ichimoku Cloud. Yep. Channels, RSI. Okay, good. So this is keep them coming in, guys. I just want to get a feel for this. And let me ask you another question, because this is a slightly more advanced group of people. You guys had a lot of 4 to 6s on the board. So you ever start to stack multiple indicators on top of one another to improve your timing? And then what ends up happening is when they don't agree, you kind of end up scratching your head like this fella here. We'll call him Charles, where you're just like, you're not sure because you can't get all of the indicators to agree at the exact same point in time. Does that happen to you? Well, here, instead of me even asking that, I'll leave that as a rhetorical question. Let's do a quick analysis. Let's see how good you folks are. I'm going to put a chart up for a moment, and this was taken back in time. Don't cheat on it, by the way. Don't go back and figure out where it was. This is Cisco back last year. Just look at the candlestick formation, because this actually is a form of technical analysis. Candlesticks, right? So based on what you're looking at in front of you, let me take a survey real quick. How many of you think this is going to go up, down, or sideways from where it is right now? Let's just get a feel for that. Okay, up, sideways, down, up, down. No clue. Okay, I appreciate the honesty. Got a couple question marks. Up, down. Okay, so I kind of have a mixed bag here. I'm going to say maybe 75, 80% of you guys are saying up, and then some saying down, some saying sideways, and then just some question marks or nonsense in the box, which is completely understand. Actually, you know what? I just got the most honest answer from Ed. Actually, Edward P says, I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate your honesty, Ed. Here's the reality, guys. Maybe you don't have enough information, so let me give you more information. Now we're in our realm, right? Now we've got some real technical indicators up here. So I've got, I put the Ichimoku Cloud on here. There's Bollinger Bands. I've got 2 moving averages. I also have MACD, stochastics, volume, and RSI. For those of you that just gave me an answer, now that you're looking at the technical indicators, let's retake the survey, if you will, because now we have more information. So now tell me, do you think it's going up, down, or sideways? Okay, I may have a delay because I'm not getting any responses yet, but that also proves a point. The reality is, this gets very, very confusing. Okay, so I'm getting a couple people that are still saying up. I got one sideways. You know what I'm noticing here though, guys, is I'm getting, okay, sideways to up, says Kenneth. I'm getting a fraction of the responses that I was previously, which tells me one of 2 things. Either you don't know, or the indicators are starting to confuse us. The more we put on, the more confusing it gets. Folks, I want you to hear something, and this is a very, very important message. The reality is technical indicators, traditional technical indicators, the way you've come to know them, are toxic. They're dangerous, and frankly, in my opinion, they're completely dead, especially in today's day and age. And here's why I say this. If we can all agree, and all of us did except for one person, if we can all agree that the markets are globally interconnected and that stocks are impacting other stocks, well, these indicators aren't taking any of that information into consideration. They are just looking at Cisco Systems all by itself. In other words, in complete and utter isolation, they're just analyzing Cisco. So whatever information they're even giving us is just about Cisco Systems. Think about that. Not on any of the other markets. It doesn't consider how crude oil is impacting Cisco or the semiconductor index or competitors or suppliers or the indices or currencies. None of that is here on the screen. It's just Cisco on an island all by itself. Here's the bigger issue though, and if you said you're suffering with timing problems, here's your culprit. All of these indicators are based on past price information, which means they all lag behind the market. All of them. Think about that. And yes, I know, hey, Ed, it does make sense. And this is the thing that most people fail to understand is these tools have been so ingrained in their psyche. This is all they've known that they never stop to consider, well, wait a second, if the markets are like dominoes and they're all impacting one another, what can I use to look at the big picture? You see, these tools aren't doing that. And what makes matters worse is if you've ever gotten into a trade after it already started to move up and by the time your indicator told you, hey, this is a buy, it's because your indicators lag. They're all based on past price data. Now that may not harm you on the entries, but folks, you mark my words, if you have late exits, it can literally rip your head off. You've got to be careful because by the time those indicators show you that, hey, this market is reversing, the market has already done so, okay? And that's why I'm saying these are flawed. Now, obviously, if I'm putting these down, I'm going to introduce you to a set of indicators that make a lot more sense. I'm going to introduce you to some predictive technical indicators, and these are being generated by the artificial intelligence. Now, let me explain what each one of these is doing. I'm going to go through this pretty quick, but I'll slow down in the charts. Okay, see this blue line here, folks? It looks like a moving average. That is actually a predicted moving average, and it's being generated with the artificial intelligence. You will not find what I'm about to show you anywhere else on the planet because we have two separate United States patents on them. Number one, we have a patent on the predictive indicators. The second thing we have a patent on is the way we're doing the global intermarket analysis by using the artificial intelligence. So before I explain what we're looking for, if it's not obvious with this indicator, let me explain what we've done to it so that you understand what's happening behind the scenes. Look over to the right of your screen. What we've done is we started out with a simple moving average, a short-term simple moving average, and we shaved off some data. We got rid of the most recent data because we realized it wouldn't help us. That's only telling us what the stock has done, right? It's not telling us where it's going. But then by using the artificial intelligence, we were able to analyze those top 31 markets that have been mathematically proven to have the biggest impact. And we went into those markets and we removed forecasting data from those markets. In other words, what was driving the stock. We took that information and we front loaded what used to be a lagging indicator and it turned it into a predictive moving average. So what this does is it allows us to see 1, 2, and 3 days into the future with an amazing degree of accuracy, and it's forecasting what is expected to happen before it takes place. Now, what you're looking for are simply crossing points. Anytime the blue line crosses above the black line, expect a bullish trend. When the blue line crosses beneath the black line, expect a bearish trend. Very, very simple. In fact, the space between them, bearish trends, as soon as the space starts to turn red, expect it's a bearish trend coming. And green, expect a bullish trend. So that's the first indicator. Let me introduce you to another one. Now, this is called the predicted neural index. And what it is doing is it's a very sensitive indicator, but it's telling you whether to expect strength or weakness over the next 2 trading sessions. Anytime it turns green, expect the next 2 trading sessions on average to be stronger. Anytime it turns red, expect them to be weaker, okay? And it's very easy to interpret. There's just 2 colors, green or red. The next set of indicators, these are very powerful, guys. Speaking of powerful, we're going to talk about momentum because that's what these are doing. They're called predictive differences. There's 3 of them on the screen. There's a 1-day, which is the teal colored line, a 2-day, which is the pink colored line, and the blue is a 3-day. What these are doing is they are forecasting anticipated momentum over the next 1, 2, and 3 days. Now, they're not just showing you what the momentum has been, they're showing you what it's forecasted to be. And here's how you interpret them. When they're slanting up, expect an increase in momentum. When they are slanting down, expect a decrease in momentum. All you're doing is looking at the trajectory of the line. Really, really simple. And then finally, the last one is a gray predictive candle. And what this is 2 indicators in one. It is actually showing you the next day's anticipated trading range. And we use this to help us place trailing stops or from a risk management standpoint, wondering where we should place our stops. But what we're going to do, I'm going to turn the software back on right now. We're looking for total confirmation for these first three things because this is the setup to tell us when a trend is about to begin and end, okay? So let's go back into VantagePoint. All right, folks, back into VantagePoint. Give me 1 second. I want to grab a quick drink of water. I'm a little dry throat here. Been talking so much, I kind of feel like a carnival barker or an auctioneer. Give me just a second. That was good. Thank you. All right, so let me explain what we're looking at here, and I'm going to walk you through this very, very quickly, but I think you'll understand. So we're looking for a three-step process. Step number one, we need to be able to identify when a trend is about to start. That's as easy as identifying when the blue line is crossed above the black line. That's the first part of the equation. But just because a trend starts doesn't mean one day makes a trend. You guys know that. We need to make sure it's going to continue. So now we come down here at the same point in time. We look at the neural index. The neural index is green, and remember what we said about the neural index. That means strength over the next couple of days or higher prices. So we've got two things agreeing. Then finally, we're going to come down to these predictive differences, and you'll notice all of them are slanting up. Folks, that is the ideal setup to find a bullish trend. Now, you'll notice something very, very powerful here. The key here is knowing when to get out of your position, because if the lines get close like they are right here, that doesn't matter. All it means is the trend is slowing down a little bit. But until the blue line crosses beneath the black line, we could remain in the trend. Now, for you options traders or people that short the market, the reality is if you look down here, we need to do the exact same thing we did to go on the long side. We need to flip everything now. So now we're going to look and see, is the blue line beneath the black line? Yes, it is. The neural index has turned red. You guys can see that. And our differences are slanting down. That sets us up for a short position. Now, you see again, right here, same exact thing took place again on the last bullish trend. And you can see right here, we had these at the point where the cross was, everything was pointing up. Why is this so important? Well, for those of you that said you have timing problems, here's the reality. I'm not suggesting you can't capture a trend on the up or down side. I would never be that foolish. But what I will say is, regardless of where you're capturing it, if you're relying on traditional technical indicators, folks, you're late to the party, not only on the entry, but also on the exit. And that's critical here, because here's what happens so many times to so many people. Let me grab my tool here. People will, sometimes they just stumble upon it and they get lucky, but they find the beginning of a trend right back there. So I'm going to show you what happens. They actually jump in and they ride a trend up, sometimes on total accident. But if they knew when to get out of the position and they were able to get out very close to the top, let me give you an example. And this is hand selected, obviously. We'll get to yours in a minute. But this thing went up 132% in 54 days. Folks, that's a $13,000 profit on just a $10,000 position. I mean, come on, in 2 months, who wouldn't like to make 132% on their money? Again, on a $10,000 trade, you could have made $13,000. But watch what happens if you don't know when to get out. And it happens to so many people. Look at that percentage just go down, 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 down until there's nothing left. And the reality is, by the time your tools are telling you to get out, you've already given back the lion's share. Wouldn't it make more sense to know exactly when to exit on your trade? And more importantly, once it does fall, how do you know when the end's in sight? Because the reality is, when the lines get close together, a lot of people were thinking it was bottoming out right here, yet it just kept falling. However, VantagePoint picked up on it right here. And now look at what's happening, guys. And by the way, look at the right-hand side of the screen. See, just in the last 26 days, this thing's gone up more than 1% a day. You could have taken the 13,000 in profit that you made on the first trade. Here's another opportunity, same $10,000 investment, and make another $3,500. Guys, think about what I'm saying here. That's $16,000 in profit on one trade. Now, anyone notice what's happening on the right-hand side of the screen? Doesn't it look or appear that the blue line is just about to cross the black line? The neural index is red, and all the momentum indicators are pointing down. Folks, what's that mean? What does that mean? Okay, I just want to make sure you guys are paying attention. Okay, so you're seeing it. All right, good. So let's go on to Shopify. All right, hold on 1 second. Now that you understand what we're looking for, and I don't have time to go through the whole chart, but let's go through some of this, because what you will see, and I'm going to line everything up for you out of fairness. Look, I got crosshairs on the screen. The blue line just crossed beneath the black line. The neural index turned red, and the differences are all slanting down. You can see it. Now remember, we would only consider taking a trade if everything agrees. That's critical because there's a lot of movements on this one. Okay, right here, the blue line is crossed above the black line. The neural index is turned green, and the differences are pointing up. Then you'll notice on the way down, let's see if they all agree. Yes, they do. Look, the blue line crosses beneath, the neural index turns red, the differences are pointing down. Guys, are you starting to see that there's a wash, rinse, and repeat process here? Wash, rinse, and repeat. Except for right here. Look at this. The indicators aren't agreeing. The blue line crossed beneath, so if we were in this upward trend, we would have exited, but there's no way we would take a short position because this is green, it's not red. And you'll notice that two of the differences are pointing down, but one's pointing up. So we would wait until everything was in agreement. And then you'll see on the last movement, you have the blue line crossing to the upside. But again, not everything agrees yet. We can't take the trade until everything agrees. And then right here is when the lines start to slant up. It's green, they're all pointing up, the blue line's on top. Now, again, and by the way, whoever asked to see shop, listen, I can't tell you to buy or sell or what to do. I don't give advice. I'm not licensed to do so, but I will point out one thing. According to the artificial intelligence, that blue line is now touching the black line. The neural index is red, and clearly this thing has been drying up from a momentum standpoint since back here. I shouldn't have to tell you what that means, but be careful in that trade. Let's look at one thing, though. Let's assume that we just took the last position and just got out yesterday. Here you go. Look at this, guys. In 17 days, 71%. Folks, on a $10,000 investment, you could have made $7,100. That's impressive. That's really impressive. Now we're not on my stocks, we're on yours. Hopefully you found that in the trade and you got out. Okay, moving on to Novartis, NVS. Okay, another great example. Actually, you can see the line has crossed here. But look, back here, guys, the blue line fell beneath the black line. The neural index turned red. The differences were all slanting down. This thing fell off a cliff. But right here, the blue line crossed above. The neural index is green. The differences are pointing up. And look at what it generated just on that movement right there. I'm just using an approximate. But again, 17% in 24 days. Not a bad way to earn a living, guys. $1,700. But notice this, because here's the problem. People don't know when to get out. Whoever asked to see this, can someone give me a quote on where this is right now? NVS, please. I don't have access to live quotes on this computer. Someone go into your platform or Google it for me real quick, and I'll wait. If I'm being silent, it's because I'm still waiting for a quote. So bear with me for one moment. NVS, guys. William, you asked a very important question, or you made a very important statement, and what you're missing is this right here. By the way, William was saying, if we're just looking backwards, how does that help us? Well, William, right here, last night at 6:30, by the way, that's when you get these forecasts, every night at 6:30. If you know the market is about to reverse, you're no longer looking backwards in time. You actually can be in a proactive situation to get out of a trend and then short it if you wanted to. Because I agree, historically speaking, that never is going to help you. Looking backwards in time doesn't help you. This is showing you what's coming over the next 1, 2, and 3 days. So hopefully you picked up on that. Okay, so 83.49. All right, guys, see this gray candle here? I forgot to mention this. See how it's making lower highs and lower lows? It was telling us yesterday to expect this today. So we would have placed our stop somewhere right above it. But you can see everything is indicating that this thing is going down. That's the point. So you would have been able to lock in a tidy profit right there and then actually shorted it to the downside. And let's look at what look at this. It's gone down more than a percent a day in just the last 4 days. Folks, that's huge. Knowing this ahead of time, you would have been able to short it. Okay, moving on. Cincinnati. Okay, guys, look right here. Blue line crossed beneath the black line. The neural index was red. The differences were pointing down. You can see this thing rolled over. Right here, though, it had a little bit of upside steam. See? The blue line crossed above. The neural index turned green, and the differences are all pointing up. However, right here, the software said, sorry, the trend's done. It's going to reverse. And look at what happened. Could someone give me a quote on CINF real quick? Because look, the software was forecasting lower highs and lower lows already. The momentum pointing down, the neural index red. Guys, it's staring us right in the face. Okay, what is the ticker on this, guys? A CINF. Just give me a quick quote. $60.59 now, or 58 cents. Watch this, guys. If I click on this thing, look at this. It was telling me what the next day's anticipated high and low should be. VantagePoint nailed it. So whoever was a minute ago, someone was saying looking backwards doesn't work. Guys, we knew this last night at 6:30. That's the thing you have to understand. Okay, finally Lockheed, and then I'm going to move on. Okay, Lockheed, I don't even think I need to point this out, but I will. Look at this. You can see where it fell back here. All of the indicators were in agreement. The blue line fell beneath, the neural index turned red, the differences went down, the stock fell out of bed. Even when the stock rallied back up, VantagePoint wasn't fooled because that blue line never crossed over the black line. See, a moving average would have given you a false signal. This blue line is not a standard moving average. Guys, it's a predicted moving average filled with artificial intelligence. That's what you need to understand here. But the blue line finally crossed back up right here on 325, and you can see that. And just, you know, hypothetically, if you grabbed that, if you were notified you were using VantagePoint, here's another one, Lockheed, great company, up 30% in the last 26 days. Now, the thing's kind of going sideways. A lot of people may have bailed on it, but the reality is VantagePoint's not saying that it's time to do that. And hopefully you guys are seeing that. I want to introduce you to some people real quick, and this will only take a second. But again, what we're looking for when we're using the indicators, we want all of these things to be in agreement. And I know I sound like I'm preaching, but it's critically important. And here's why. I want to show you what one of our customers says, and his name is Billy. Look at this. He said, I started out in the stock market 7 years ago, and over time I'd lost a great deal of money. But with the help of VantagePoint, I'm turning my luck around. Yes, you're going to have down days, but there are going to be many more up days. And if you're patient and you trust the indicators within VantagePoint to make smart trades, you will be successful and make money. My advice to traders would be to buy VantagePoint. Don't get too greedy or anxious. And guys, this is what's important. Wait until VantagePoint indicates a good buy or sell and you'll make money. What he's talking about is waiting until all the indicators are in agreement. That's critical. Here's another gentleman that's an options trader, Alfred. And there are hundreds of these stories on our website, but when he came to us, he said, look, I'd lost money. I've never been able to trade options successfully. And he was skeptical when he found us. But he told us after his second training session, because we'll train you in the software, guys. After his second training session, he bought 3 different options and all 3 were closed in 5 days. His profit was $6,452. Now, these are atypical. I have no idea how you guys are going to do. Some will do better, some will do worse. If you're not careful, some of you guys could lose everything you have. You know, don't trade beyond your means. But the reality is, this is what's possible when you're using the technology. So here's what the company has put together for you. And this is in conjunction, by the way, with TradeThirsty, guys, so you can thank them. So between TradeThirsty and VantagePoint, what VantagePoint has put together for you is they're going to give anyone who wants access to it. You'll have access to VantagePoint on a 1-year subscription for an entire year, and you're going to have access to everything that I just showed you. All of those predictive technical indicators are all included. In addition to that, for the first 3 weeks, we're going to give you all-inclusive access. We'll give you access to every single asset class that we forecast for. That means all the ETFs, all the futures markets, commodities, currencies, cryptos, stocks, Canadian stocks, you name it, you'll have access to everything. But that's only for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, we're going to ask you to settle on one sector of your choosing, okay? So a sector is, let's say you trade healthcare. You'd have all the healthcare stocks that we forecast for. For those of you that trade options on technology, you'd have technology. If you're a futures trader, whatever the futures market you trade, that's what you would have access to for the year. Now, in addition to that, and this is great, we're going to give you a quick start user's guide. This is critical because this gets you up and running the same day, which means you'll actually be up and running with the software today if you decide to come on board. In addition to that, this weekend, you're going to be able to attend VantagePoint University. It includes 20 on-demand video modules. In addition to that, you're going to have bi-weekly market updates. Guys, this is incredibly helpful because now you don't have to learn it by yourself. You can actually learn it from the comfort of your own home and watch videos to progress you along. Finally, we're going to give you a professional software coach, which means you're going to have access to our team of experts. Anytime you have a question, just reach out to them. They'll train you and they will guide you to use the software correctly. And the reason we do all of this is we're really trying to set you guys up for success. So here's the last gentleman that I'm going to introduce, but his name is Sam. I'm not going to go through his whole story, but here's what I will say. This is a smart group that we have. I mean, I had a lot of 5s and 6s, a couple 8s in the room. Sam was one of those guys. Right? It's just the reality. He owned an independent chain of pharmacies. He was I think he sold the pharmacy since then, and now he's retired and he trades. But Sam is a registered pharmacist. He's a very smart guy. He had bought someone else's program that wasn't working, and he was really, really frustrated. So when he gave VantagePoint a shot, you know, he was actually pretty impressed with his results. But look at what he did on the bottom. He told us after 6 months, he had tripled his account, tripled it. Folks, if you already think you have that level of knowledge, I'm not telling you you're going to triple your account. I mean, again, atypical results, but it's possible. And when you put the right tools in the hands of smart people, this is what you're capable of doing. So I'm going to take you back one more time to Cisco just to test everyone, because everyone had an opinion, but we looked at them through the eyes of faulty indicators. Let's look at them through the eyes of VantagePoint. I want you to look at your screen, guys. See how the blue line is crossing the black line? The neural index is turning red, and the differences are pointing down. I'm not even going to tell you what this means, but do me a favor, please, because I get graded. Everyone's got to understand that I'm able to communicate the message and that you guys can actually understand what the artificial intelligence is suggesting. So without me telling you what the tool is now saying, tell me, looking at it now, is this thing about to go up, down, or sideways? And I'd like everyone to participate, please. This is kind of my report card, if you will, to let me know that I'm an effective communicator and that the message is coming across. Okay, keep them coming in, guys. Everyone, if I could have everyone participate. Yeah, go in, whether it's up, down, or sideways, or you could put a U, a D, or an S if you don't want to type fast. That's fine too. Okay, good. Everyone's seeing this. Absolutely. Bearish, down, 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 down. I have yet to see an up. Down, 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 down. I'm not going to keep saying that. I'd have to say it a couple hundred times. Yeah, you guys are seeing the point. Folks, if you know that this is going down, you've already answered the question of whether or not it would be a useful tool, because when you go back and you look at your lagging indicators, they're not showing you what's happening. But look at what actually did happen here. See, and that's the point. By being able to know ahead of time what is about to take place, that's the power of VantagePoint. This puts you in a position where now, instead of being reactive and shackled, if you will, to your old lagging indicators, now you can be proactive. There's a reason it's called VantagePoint. You can actually see what's coming. So getting back to the packaging for just a moment, folks. So here's what we've put together for you, and here's the pricing. Now, by the way, this is the list price. Ignore the pricing on the screen, but I do want to talk about what you're getting, because you're going to get a software license with one sector for 1 year. The list price on that is $2,900 just for one market. We're going to give you unlimited online access to VantagePoint University that's valued at close to $1,000 all by itself. Each and every one of you will be able to get into that room this weekend if you come on board, get in and learn until your heart's content. We're going to give you the Quick Start User's Guide and Resources valued at $495, plus 6 months of unlimited expert coaching. Folks, that's valued at $1,295, almost $1,300 by itself. And I got to tell you, that's ridiculously undervalued, because I have spent 5 times that amount getting coaching in the past for less time than that. And I'm sure a lot of you have as well. So this package, as you see, is normally $5,685. However, because you're part of the TradeThirsty webinar and you've spent an hour with us, we're going to give you access to everything that you just saw for only $14.97. $14.97, which allows you to save over $4,188. So for those of you that want to get involved, want to start looking at the technology and using this, go ahead and go to your chat box. All you have to do is type in your name and your phone number, guys, and then I'll make sure that we have one of our software experts reach out to you the moment the webinar is finished. So go ahead and put your phone number in with your name. Don't worry, no one else is going to be able to see your phone number. We're the only people, the administrators, that are running the webinar, so that's not an issue. Okay. And by the way, Daniel, I have your number. Thank you very much. Tabitha, I've got your number. Blake, I've got your number as well. I've got some questions coming in too, but let me call out the names first to make sure that I'm addressing everyone first. Okay, Thomas, I've got you. Jonathan, I'll answer that in just a moment. Richard, I have you as well. Okay, so, and by the way, guys, keep the numbers coming in. So let me explain, by the way, what a sector means, just for a second. So if you trade something like the SPY, if SPY is what you're trading, you would actually choose the US ETF sector. Someone's asking about like the Qs right now. Yeah, that's in the US ETF sector, Glenn. So within that one sector, you'd have access to the indices, actually about 80 different ETFs, okay? So you'd have 80 different ETFs that you would actually have access to, and it would include those. If you're trading stocks, you know, maybe it's technology that you choose, or maybe you're going to choose the energy stocks. So it's completely dependent upon you. But what we'll do is we unlock the software for the first 21 days, and we give you access to everything. You're going to have access to everything that we forecast for the first 21 days. After that, you're going to choose the market of your liking. Okay, so keep your numbers coming in. By the way, Wayne, I've got you as well. Is it Gerald? I'm sorry, I had an issue with your name. I have your number as well. Yes, this works on Forex. So Gene, go ahead and put your number in. I don't want to get, if I just throw a bunch of prices out, it's going to get confusing. Put your number in, and I'll have a software expert reach out to you. They'll be able to answer your questions or get you whatever information you need. Don't worry, they're not going to twist your arm. They're super professional. Ronald, to answer your question, of course. So go ahead and put your phone number in. The software experts can explain all of that to you. Shirley, I have your number as well. George is asking a great question. George, I want to cover that in just 1 second. He's asking how much for all the sectors. So before I jump in there, though, I want to do something else that's kind of special for you guys, but I want you to write something down. Someone asked, are there any additional charges? The only additional charge that you would ever have is for the data subscription. Remember, it's doing intermarket analysis. It needs global market data, and the data has to be formatted correctly. So we've contracted through a third-party provider called Traders Only. They provide the data, and they only charge you $35 a month, so you're never going to miss it. $35 a month, that is the only ongoing thing. Hold on just 1 second. Yeah, absolutely, it is, Wes. Thank you very much for the compliment. Kathy, I've got your phone number as well. Shirley, I have your number. So no, this does not just work on stocks, folks. It works on every asset class that I had mentioned: stocks, futures, currencies, commodities, ETFs, foreign exchange. It even works on cryptocurrencies, okay? So it can definitely help you there. Now, if you're like me, guys, and I know a lot of you are, I put more faith into what professionals say rather than individual users, but everyone's different, right? But I want to show you what some of the pros have been saying, and there's only 2 of them that I want to point out. One's right here, the Market Technicians Association. For those of you in the know or who have a professional background, you already know who this organization is. Incredibly prestigious. If you want to become a technical analyst, you know, and get a job on CNBC or go be a professional trader, this is where you go for your credentials. They were blown away with Lou Mendelson's work and said he really is a visionary, a pioneer, and he's going to change the face of technical analysis, which he is doing, guys. That's coming from one of the most prestigious institutes out there when it comes to trading or technical analysis. But let me give you one that you will be familiar with because of who this gentleman used to represent. Your Trading Edge. The gentleman's name is Terry Wooten. Terry Wooten used to be the managing editor-in-chief for the Dow Jones Newswires. Think about that, guys. I think he ran their commodities division, if I'm not mistaken. Editor-in-chief for Dow Jones. To say he knows a thing or two about trading would be a big understatement again. But what he did is he tested our software and he put it through its paces, and he wasn't easy on us. He did a multiple asset, kind of like a blind study. He just randomly picked things to test. You know, he broke it up between stocks, ETFs, commodities, futures, and then he did an extended period of testing. He actually tested for 4 years. These are just little clippings from the complete reviews. These are available on our site. As I said, there are dozens of pro reviews, hundreds of customer reviews. But look at what he said. He said, if you were serious about your trading, you should strongly consider joining the thousands of other VantagePoint users. An intelligent trader or investor should have no problem recouping the cost of the software quickly. Highly recommended. Guys, he wasn't recommending it at the webinar pricing. He was recommending it at our retail pricing. So again, for those of you that are, you know, kind of on the fence, hopefully that'll calm your fears. But go ahead and put your phone number in. We will reach out to you the moment we're done. I have some more numbers coming in, so bear with me for one moment. Dan, great question. We have your number. I'll have someone reach out to you. Generally, that's what the credit card companies are for, is they'll let you break payments up amongst them, because we're not really handled to do the accounting for that. But I'm going to give you guys an additional bonus. I think you're really going to appreciate this. Pay attention to your screen real quick. For those of you that are putting in your phone number, if you type in the word fast action, again, type in the word fast action, and what I'm going to do is we're going to give this service to you for free. It's a concierge treatment. What we'll do is we will remote into your computer. We don't even need to be in front of you. We can do it through the internet. We can install the software, get you up and running, walk you through the software, kind of like a navigational tutorial, and show you where everything is at. We normally charge a premium for this because it takes work on our end as well, you know. So instead of paying $300, if you type in the word fast action right now, we'll give it to you absolutely free. Okay, Richard, I have you for fast action. However, I don't have your number. Kathy, I've got you for fast action. Richard, go ahead and put your number in. Dan, I've got your fast action again. Tom, I've got your fast action again. Daniel, I have your fast action. Hey, Santiago, you're missing a digit. Need you to put another digit in your phone number. Okay. Richard, I've got your number now. Thank you so much. And by the way, some of you may not want a lifetime license. Some of you may not want a subscription. Some of you may want a lifetime license. And if you're like me, I'm of the belief that something worth owning is worth having, not renting. For those of you that want to get a lifetime license, or you want additional sectors, the company has authorized all of the webinar attendees to receive a 30% discount. Guys, that's a third off, well, almost 30% off of any of the lifetime packages. So if you need additional sectors, or you want additional markets, whatever it is, if you will, type in the word lifetime, and then I'll know that that's what you're interested in, and I'll have a software expert reach out to you and give you the different prices, and then you can choose what's actually better for you. By the way, Shirley, I have your fast action as well, and lifetime. You just ping back with the lifetime as well. Stein, I'm having an issue with your name. I'm Steinoff. I'm sorry, you know who I'm talking to, and I apologize, but I have your phone number. Richard B, I've got yours as well. Glenn's asking a question about, so this is an actual software product. Yes. Okay, so Glenn, it runs in a PC environment. It needs Windows to run. If you're using a Mac, you can still install it. You just need to run a program called Parallels. And if you don't know where to get it, we can tell you where to buy it online. It's less than $200, and it allows you to install Windows programs onto a Macintosh. Great question, though. Let's see, is there a user group online? Yeah, absolutely. Put your George, put your phone number in. We've got a lot of things that we do for our customers once they come on board, so I think that would really benefit you. Go ahead and put your phone number in, and I'll have a software expert explain all of that to you. So again, folks, if you want a lifetime license, type in the word lifetime. Robert, I got you with the lifetime as well, so no problem. Okay, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, for those of you that don't want a lifetime license and you just want to keep this simple, there's nothing wrong with that. What you can do is, again, just put your phone number in, and just to remind you, here's the $14.97 package, because you can always come back and build on later with the market's money. If you don't want to spend your own money, don't. Go out and make some money with the tool and come back with your profits, and then you can buy a lifetime package. But again, here's what you're getting. You're getting a software license with one sector for 1 year. We're also giving you VantagePoint University access for the entire year. 6 months of unlimited coaching and training and support. Guys, that is critical. That means we will guide you. We'll hold your hand. We will mentor you every step of the way, showing you how to extract the maximum value out of the software. And we're also going to give you the quick start user's guide and resources. So again, put in your phone number. By the way, for those of you that are putting in your phone number, George, I've got you. Thank you very much. Let's see. Yep, and discount on the lifetime. Yeah, I'll make sure that they give that information to you. So folks, here's the reality. Let me give you some closing thoughts real quick. If you didn't see the market reversing, it's not your fault, it's your tools. By the time your tools told you were in trouble, it was too late, and that's just a fact. Had you been using the AI, you could have avoided that, and I think that you guys are understanding that already. But here's the real challenge is, Are you at the pinnacle of your trading career? I mean, do you think you've learned everything there is to learn? And if you have, then, you know, how are your results? Are you able to run up against these major hedge funds? Because they're using AI on a daily basis. Whether you realize you're competing against this or not, I can assure you, you are. If you're new and you think that you have to take your lumps in the stock market and you have to pay for your education, folks, that's not true. The way I explain this to everyone is this is not a trading system. This is a tool to help you make more intelligent decisions. Because anytime you can take something that can analyze over 10,000 different markets and then show you in an interface that literally takes you seconds to view, and then you know how all those markets are competing and impacting against what it is you're trading, and with up to an 87.4% degree accuracy rating can tell you whether something is about to move up or down, folks, what else do you need? I mean, that's just the reality. And I know a lot of you have lost more than this on individual trades. So here's the reality. I'll give you this thought to think about, and then I'm going to leave. If I'm wrong and this doesn't work, now keep in mind we have patents on it. We've been around for 40 years. It's been on the open market for almost 30. But let's say, let me appeal to the skeptic in you. If I'm wrong, what's another $14.97 to finally uncover something that does work? That's the reality. You got very little skin in the game. You stand to lose very little. But if I'm right, and I am, guys, surprise, if I'm right, this could change everything for you. So again, I'm not in the convincing business. I'm in the educational business. Hopefully you guys got an education on how you can start applying intermarket analysis to your everyday trades. Because here's the reality. If you can figure out what's driving what it is you're trading and you pay attention to the behavior of those markets, it's a lot easier to figure out where your stocks are going. And hopefully you guys are seeing that. And if you can't do that or don't want to do that, again, that's what VantagePoint is designed to do. Okay. So with that said, guys, I'm going to have a link put in the description. If anyone would just like to purchase the software online, just say yes right now and then put an email address in, and I will have Gabby send you a link where you can just go to our secure checkout. You can put your credit card information in, and you don't even need to take a phone call. We'll just go ahead and email everything over to you. So if you want to buy it online, just go ahead and put your email address in or type in the word yes. And while we still have the room open, I will make sure that Gabby sends you a link. Other than that, guys, listen, I've really appreciated your time today. I hope you got some valuable insight and information out of today's webinar. And with that said, folks, I will leave the room open for a couple of minutes, but this is Eric, and I am officially signing off. You guys have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much. And by the way, for those of you that have given us your phone number and coming on board, you're going to have a great time this weekend learning about this. This truly is a game changer for you. So thank you very much for your attention. I really appreciate it, and I will see you on the other side. Thanks, guys.